Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider Podcast, episode 145. As you can see, Vu Gwyn is not here. He's on assignment in Germany. Hopefully, the next episode we'll have some stories from him. I know he texted me as I was stuck in traffic thanks to our bridge being down, and now half the tunnel was on fire. It's a complete mess. He was texting me pictures from the museum. Not of the museum, but of the gift shop, because I told him that he had a $150 budget, which I found out is very low when you go to the museum.
That's the tax.
He's bringing to, but the good thing is the euro and dollar, it's not that bad. So, anyways, he was sending me pictures of different stuff and saying, what do you want? So I picked it out very nice of him, because last time I was in Germany, it was a Monday and the museum's closed on a Monday. So I brought an extra bag. I brought all this money and I was out of luck. Anyways, we're here with Damon Lowney, Rob Sass, and Bob Miller from At Speed Motorsports. So the topic today is something that we get a lot of calls about here at the national office, and that's where do I go to find a Porsche for sale? Not a new one, but a used one. And I know a lot of us are searching the internet. Not all of us, but a lot of us search the net during work for good deals. And so my first person I thought of was Rob, because I think he's the expert. And how many bookmarks do you go to check for cars for sale?
Honestly, I haven't been doing it that often lately. It's only been,
I'm not saying that you're looking at racy websites. I'm not saying you're looking at racy websites. This is cars for sale. You have to be ashamed.
No, there was a divorce not that long ago, so I was on a short leash spending wise. So I was not looking at a whole lot.
Looking is okay. You're not buying. It's something different.
Not buying. What's the point?
And Vu's not here, so you can't get into trouble.
So anyway, but yes, you do know that I bought something recently. What was the question again?
How many you got defensive right from the start there, which means guilty. How many sites do you go to in your little, when you do the rounds?
I'd say places 4.
Only 4?
3 or 4.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, if you're looking for, a late model, like a daily driver, then I'll look at CarGurus or Cars.com or CarsForSale.com.
But you look at you look at other makes too.
I figure guilty. Yes, I'm occasionally guilty of that. But no, but I mean, if we're talking about looking for Porsches,
yes, but
I start where I think we all start. I start on the Mart, on PCA.org.
I do the same thing. I probably look at the Mart 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah.
Really quick. And I look at everything. I don't have mine filtered out from parts to, and Lord knows there's a lot of want to buy ads also.
Right.
Because, never know when you're going to see a part that looks interesting. Even if you're not going to buy it, sometimes it's, I saw, and I don't know if they flagged this ad or not, but somebody was selling a condo on the location of the Porsche parade in Palm Springs.
Oh my.
And I thought, wow, that is a stretch.
That's a stretch.
That's a stretch. But I'm not sure if that was allowed, but I thought that was
that probably came down to
that was interesting.
It sounds like I'm going to be the conscience today, because when I'm not looking for a car actively in the market, I tend to actually not be on these types of websites.
You don't get tempted or
no, not really. It's because when I, am in the market, like it's kind of crazy, like the way my mind is just racing and, oh, that car looks so cool. I really want a Fiat 500 Abarth to replace the Golf. No, I want this one. I want that one, or an '08 Civic Si or something. And I don't want to be in that state of mind for.
Well, that's the conscience for me. Let's face it.
I'll be the conscience here.
So for the PCA Mart, for those who aren't members, you can see the ads, but you cannot see the contact info. You're not a member. So that's the benefit of joining PCA. And I guess to put a plug for PCA, you can join the test drive program if you don't have a Porsche, and look at the same ads that members do and see all the contact info. And you get the magazine in the mail every month. So $56. If you're looking for a Porsche, I always tell people it's a pretty good investment. And if you buy a Porsche, you just automatically transfer your membership over to the full membership.
Well, and you also know, Manny, it's a sort of a pre-screened group. Those are folks that own a Porsche. They're Porsche files. They in general like their car more than a normal person. So
and some of them will just advertise it in the Mart, nowhere else.
Right.
Because as we'll go through some of these other sites, they just don't want to deal with brokers, the public, and whatnot. Not that PCA.org is going to completely insulate you from brokers, but I think it does minimize it because you have to be a member, once again, to be able to see contact. We have a lot of scammers that try to get into our ads, and the minute they find out they got to become a member to reach any of this stuff, and we don't hear from them.
356 registry is the same. You have to be a member. You can get teased a little bit, but that's it.
I didn't get teased at all. I couldn't see anything when
Well, that's what I mean. You know, you can see.
right. You need to buy membership in order to see anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing. It was. But anyways, yeah, the Mart. I tell people because having a PCA sticker on your car usually means something when people are buying the car. Much to Rob's point, it's enthusiasts that have been taking care of the car, and whether they actually take care of the car or not isn't a guarantee. It was just a sticker, but your odds are a lot better than a car that probably has been passed around auction to auction and doesn't fall into the hands of an enthusiast at any point.
It sort of sounds like there's two worlds. There's the online/internet advertised world and the other world. And so is that fair?
I think the majority is internet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the old days. You'd have, for me, it was go buy the Washington Post.
Yep.
I used to even resort to buying the LA Times just to see what they had in California. But now it's Hemmings, and Panorama. You'd have to wait and look inside the ads in Panorama. Now, I don't know who looks at the ads inside Panorama for the classifieds.
Well, you guys changed it too. You changed it. In the old days, it used to be the full ad with a single picture with the asking price or contact or whatever.
Pictures.
I can
No
never
pictures.
remember pictures.
Yeah, no
Yeah, I mean they're
No.
truncated.
Oh no,
now.
you're right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking
thinking of the
Hemmings.
other
I'm
night.
thinking
Oh,
of.
yeah.
It was a full ad, but I'm thinking of Hemmings. You're right, Robert. But it was the full ad, and the whole description was there. It was very enticing. Now it's 72T. Here's the code and condition 2.
But you know why that is, right?
No.
Because by the time Panorama comes out, those cars are usually sold now.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's a dilemma that we have been dealing with for almost as long as I've been here, is what the future of print ads are for cars in Panorama. And it's frustrating for people. I mean, now what we try to do is just hear the basics of the car. If you want to learn more, go to the web. But by the time Panorama comes out, as Damon said, I would say 70% of these cars are already sold, because I mean it's the.
And why haven't the other 30% sold? What I would have. I'm not going to go. It's been around for three months and it hasn't sold. Yeah, I always say that our Bob and I have the same friends of cars and coffee friends, and I never get text messages from saying, "Hey, I just opened up my new Panorama and I saw this ad in the back for a car for sale," but they will send me links from PCA Mart.
Right.
Did you see this just popped up or this popped up? And they must be looking at it more than I am, because I can almost get hourly updates from some of them.
Wow.
And when the one time I mentioned that I was looking for an early Boxster, listeners started sending me stuff from the PCA Mart. I thought was kind of comical, because I'm like, I look at this stuff every day. But all right, so the PCA Mart is highly recommended. Not the depth of maybe cars.com, but you look at it every day and you're quick. Like Damon's probably the best story of all when he got his, because you saw his car first, right?
it's worth telling the story because it kind of demonstrates sort of what the Mart is. And
it also demonstrates one of the few downsides of the Mart, which is what Manny was saying earlier, is there are a lot of eyeballs on it. And if there is a car that is a conspicuously good deal, you have to
jump on it.
Yeah, you have to act quickly. You almost have to be, looking at the Mart.
I think the
We're getting a push notice.
I think what people assume when they go to the Mart is, it's all PCA members. They think the world of their cars, which we do, and then they price them way too high. And that happens. But at the same time, there are also a lot of PCA members who love their car, but also I think want to sell it for a fair price and perhaps amongst, to a member. And so you will find sometimes cars that are really nice and right on the market. And then other times you always see people, Cayman on Craigslist, $10,000 or something, and it's probably a real car. It's probably there. It probably needs a lot of work. But you won't find a lot of, I guess 15,000 would be a pretty low price for a Cayman nowadays. You're not going to find a nice $15,000 Cayman in the Mart, or even $20,000 Cayman. I don't think it'll be, or in Facebook or wherever. But if you go to the Mart, you will find those cars. And mine was one of those cars. No picture. And how it happened was Nathan Mers over in Washington said somebody in the office needs to buy this car. And it was, I think, texting or talking with Rob. Rob walked over to my desk because he couldn't buy it at the time. I think you probably would have if he could have.
Yeah.
Walked over and he knew that I was looking and, had the money to spend, at that point. And I was really hesitating. I was looking at Boxsters 986s because they were cheaper. I didn't think I could stretch for a Cayman. So here comes this no picture Cayman, asking price 14.7, just under 50,000 miles in Annapolis, basically down the street. And I just happened to be the first person who messaged him, and he was a stand-up fellow. I'm still in contact with him, actually. So I've hung out with the previous owner a couple times, a really good guy. And it just happened to work out. So you'll find the whole gamut of what you're looking for in the Mart. You just might not have the absolute volume of the rest of the World Wide Web. You might, if you want to buy through the Mart, you might have to wait and choose your battle.
Don't be scared of no pictures, which usually that does turn me off.
Yeah, it usually does, but not in the Mart.
And I swear, some PCA members, or maybe dare I say the majority, when they put ads in, suddenly they think we're charging per word, which we don't. And they will only put one sentence, great condition. And that's it. I saw an ad that said great condition and 2 pictures. And then the pictures, I swear, they look like they're taken from the security camera at night. And that just irks me. I'm like, you're trying to sell your car and you haven't taken the time to, or like Rob says, it's a car cover that's halfway on the car in the garage.
What incandescent bulb?
But I would say, where you may just scroll past that ad, it's worth picking up the phone and calling the person, because not everyone is IT capable, and a lot of people don't know how to put pictures up.
Then people blame the Mart 3 weeks later when their car is sold.
Yeah, I get that call too about what's wrong with my ad, that it's not selling. But if you get past that prejudice, like Damon's car, I probably would have never looked at because it didn't have a picture. I would have scrolled right by it.
That's the only reason Damon has this car today.
Yeah,
it was a no picture ad.
No picture ad. I mean, it was more the price. Like the no picture had me on the fence, but the price was so low that you would be a fool not to call him up. And 10 to 15 people, he was saying, called him up right after me that day.
Yeah, and you were there.
Held it for me.
I mean, Nathan called me, I looked at it, I brought it to your attention, and if it were me, I'd have been in the car then.
But none of you guys had any pictures of this car.
True, but I mean, it took him like a good 20 minutes, 30 minutes to call the guy and get in the car and go look at it. I mean, that could have cost you the car.
Yeah, and I also asked him, hey, I'd like to get a pre-purchase inspection before I commit. And I told him, I will give you your asking price, just, please pre-purchase inspection. And it worked out that he was taking the car in to get its last oil change, and he had, I think I was traveling, but he had eye work that he had to have done or something, and couldn't drive for a couple of weeks. So it worked out in my favor. I ended up getting the Porsche dealership where he had the oil change to do pre-purchase inspection, which I'm not like, I don't know if dealers are the best place to get a pre-purchase inspection. I mean, you would think so. I probably would have taken it to like a shop that wasn't where he had the car serviced.
How much did they charge you for it? You remember?
I want to say it was probably less than 200. I don't think it was like let's say a Tony Callis pre-purchase inspection, which is probably more like $1,000, and he's going through every single little thing. So no bore scope, nothing like that.
So we'll hold a thought about the pre-purchase. We're going to get back to that.
Yeah.
But let's stick with the places that we go to look for cars. All right. So how many of you ever use Rennlist Marketplace? You go.
Yeah. I used it for parts once, actually.
I'm just laughing because I'm like, this is more than 4. He's thinking 4, but he goes to. But I look at it once. I always look at Rennlist at all their new posts, and I scroll through, and sometimes if they're mixed in, I'll hit. I rarely go directly to the marketplace. Just if it's in other topic threads, I'll click on it if it's a car for sale, just to take a look at it. But I wouldn't say it's my like regular go-to thing, just if it conveniently pops up.
Yeah. Have you seen like the sort of the low rent DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia version of Rennlist?
Dorkiphus.net.
Yeah, exactly. VU is the other closet.
They hear you say calling it low rent.
Oh boy.
I don't know whether it be flattered or.
Well,
It's not low rent. It looks a little bit like Rennlist.
it
but
looks like
smaller.
Rennlist. It's
Yeah.
much smaller. So yeah, and it was VU's discovery, but I found my 996 twin turbo on that site, and it's basically like Rennlist, but just
Vu got his
$5,000 Rady built Boxster
Boxster,
brand new
yep.
engine on there for
Yeah.
$5,000.
yeah. So I don't know if there's the equivalent of this site in other big metro
Actually, I
areas.
got my $300 987 hardtop.
There you go.
So it's a local site.
Before I bought the car, I bought the hardtop.
Now,
Just
what
listing down
store?
your list of things.
Rob, what Dorkiphus is it? Is it mostly this area?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
DC, Northern Virginia,
For
Maryland.
guys who are working on their own
Yeah.
cars.
Okay, I got
It
it.
was basically people you see at the track.
Right.
It seemed like on the weekends,
Sure.
at their own little chat board.
I think the lesson here is that, also look locally, right? If you can find, they can be hard to find, because how do you know to search for Dorkiphus?
Well, exactly.
you
It's
don't
one
know.
of those things
But-
that, VU's been in this area a long time. VU knew about it. He told me, I told you, I told Manny. So it got around that way. But, if I move to a new area, am I going to know how to find the equivalent of Dorkiphus in that area? Probably not, So it gets back to what Bob was saying earlier. There is this tight-knit group of people who are sort of clued into stuff like this. It's good to talk to them.
Now, what's your guys' thought? There's a little diversion, not long, I promise. What's your guys?
Stay on schedule.
I know. What's your guys' thought of you're trolling through and you see 3 data points. You see one car that's obviously quote unquote overpriced. There's one car that you've been tracking is like, okay, that's right in the realm. And now one car that is obviously quote unquote underpriced. So which car do you call on?
The middle one, most likely, unless I'm actively looking for a project.
Right.
I would go for the lower one.
Oh, I'm a bottom feeder. I'm going to call it cheap one for
Okay. How about you? How about you, Manny?
The bottom feeders always worry me. I'll give you a good example. Our friend Steve is looking, sent me a link to a 914.6. And I looked at the pictures. Everything looked legitimate. And luckily, he had the VIN number, so I just Googled the VIN. And it's been for sale for a while in different places.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started thinking, okay, now what did other people, why hasn't this car sold? Why has it been passed around so much?
Mm-hmm.
And so then let's go back and I look at the pictures again, trying to figure out, still can't see what is wrong with this car, but it's something that but the price to me is, seems to be about maybe 15 less than the market right now.
So about 90 grand.
No, 60.
Oh, that's really cheap. Okay, keep going.
So I would want to go look at that car, but
Okay.
in my head I'm thinking there's other people have looked at this car,
Okay.
and people would have jumped if this car was absolutely perfect and everything that you would expect a $90,000 car to be.
Great.
So what are I always say, what am I going to find out that a bunch of other people already know?
Okay.
So that kind of worries me about the bottom feeders. But I'm not as daring as Rob is, and Rob has a pretty good luck rate when it comes to daring. I don't. I find out that the floorboard's rusted afterwards. So I would probably go middle of the road.
Okay.
I thought.
I have a philosophy, and so I see the bottom car as an opportunity, but I see that as one of 100. So one out
for more business for your shop.
No, I'm not here to promote the shop. So but my sense is that there are opportunities, there are bargains, but it's 1 in 100. In the middle,
It's pretty accurate.
you're pretty close to, hey, this is right in the middle. The one that I screech to a stop for is the upper one, because
Screech to a stop, as in like
I
not going anywhere near it.
no, I screech to a stop because I want to find out more.
Find out more. Okay.
This guy knows he's on the outer extreme. So why is that car on the outer extreme?
And why does it stay there for so many weeks or months?
Right. And I don't mind that. Hey, it's not been bought. And that's because somebody doesn't value whatever is there. And so Manny and I have talked about this. Robert, you and I probably would too if we hung out a lot, is that I think the cheapest car most of the time is the most expensive car.
Oh,
Almost always.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost always.
So, interesting, you guys jumped on that right away. I was expecting some pushback, but
Yeah, no, and the old adage is nobody ever complains about having spent too much for a great car.
Yep.
And it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who have stepped up and paid over market for a great car. After a year goes by, the market is adjust, and they still have a wonderful car.
well, and everybody looks at them a year later. You're a genius.
Yeah, it's like that was well bought.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that was
Right.
So yeah,
The way I see it is for the middle. I mean, I would love to buy, the top end car, but knowing the kinds of cars that I like, the brands that I like, and maybe condition, how I use the car, the top price, one, it's probably going to be out of my budget. So I'm willing to accept the fact that maybe I'm going to need to do a little bit of work. Like my Cayman, for example, if it were sold for $20,000 in 2019, that would still be a good deal. And that would be probably more middle of the road pricing. Yet I would still know, the 12-year/60,000 mile service would need to be done, which isn't cheap, but I can do that. Or if I needed a shop to do it, I can manage that. But to pay more, let's say 35 maybe for a speed yellow base 987.1 Cayman, that would be hard for me to stretch, even though I know that I'll probably be trouble free and I won't have to do this.
Well, that's and honestly, that's a guy that told his wife, "Yes, I'm putting it for sale," and it's not willing to sell. Right, right. So there you go. That's a car he doesn't really want to sell that car. But what about the Cayman that's 26.5?
Yeah, 26.5 compared to maybe 20 for mine back in the day.
It's also
That's not too much of a stretch, because that's really that's probably one shop visit and a 60,000 mile service.
To me, it's what they put in the ad. So I bought my 914 at the real high end back in 94.
Can you? You don't have to, but can you share what you paid for
I
it?
paid $10,000.
Okay, and this is
the end of
to let the world know. This is literally a reference. One of the best 914 2-liters in the world.
What triggered me to say, you know what, it's worth this kind of money was all original, never restored, all the paperwork from both owners. It had all this, what we call now Nathan Murr's car,
Yeah.
It had all the documentation, always garaged, Concours winner, all this. And I thought, this is the car I want.
Because top of the line in 1994.
Oh my God! That's so expensive. It was unbelievable.
For $5,000, you could buy a decent, beautiful driver all day long for $5,000. So I was paying huge money, but I was restoring one, and I knew that when all was said and done, I was going to spend more than $10,000 restoring a car that it was restored. It wasn't original, and so I told my wife, I said, I'm going to cut my losses here, sell the restoration project, and buy this car because this is completely original. And so to me, the things that trigger is we're thinking about getting a Cayenne for Roxanne next year. And I thought, boy, if I could find a car like the 914 original, maintained, garage, basically loved, then that would be, to your point, the high end. I would pay
But the low end,
the high end.
it's the high end, but it's cheap.
But he is, yeah, because to me it's worth it.
Right.
Someone who prefers bottom feeder cars would like run away from that because I'm not. Don't be guilty.
Manny, I need to clarify one thing. I mean, I sounds like
This is.
I'm so sorry I started this.
That's really funny.
I self-identify as a bottom feeder, but I am not the guy who goes out and buys a $6,000 986 Boxster because it's $6,000, because we all know that is going to wind up being, you know, a 20 grand car in short order. What I like are high mileage cars with lots of records that have been, you know, well taken care of. The 997.2 manual cab that I had for a while was a 100,000 mile car when I bought it. It was probably one of the cheapest .2s for sale anywhere at the time, but it had records going back to day one. It had PPF film, you know, from the windshield forward, not a mark on it, and it paint metered out, you know, at like 4.5 mils everywhere. It was a great car, but it was cheap and it was a good deal because people were scared by the miles. I wasn't, because the car was obviously well cared for, and it turned out to be a great car.
But there's things that you trigger that you look at because there was things that this car had that you said this makes it worth looking at. Like
initially it was you know, it was a .2 for, you know, with an asking price then I think it was $33,000, you know, a manual .2 997 that initially keyed me in, but I made further inquiries. You know, it was cheap because it was a cab and it had a lot of miles on it, but you know, on further inquiry and a pre-purchase inspection, the car flew through a PPI. Everything was great, and it turned out to be a really good car at a, you know, at a good price. That when I sold it, I did pretty well on.
Vu got his 986, the one Damon mentioned, the Jake Raby engine, and I remember the ad.
He gave me the ad before he bought it.
Did he really?
I bought an MR2, which I loved. Got rear-ended, unfortunately, and then like a week later,
I think it was less than $5,000.
No, it was asking $9,000 when I looked at the ad. I went and hung the MR2 because it was too much money, and then the guy lowered it to $5,000 afterwards.
Yes, because I remember, and he
through a divorce,
and he posted this like at 10 o'clock at night, and I happened to just hit Dorkiphus, and I saw the ad, but my first instinct is, oh, something's wrong with this car. If he's selling it this cheap.
Because the engine's worth more
what
than
it
that.
was. And he even said it in the ad. He said, I'm done with the car.
Right.
The top just broke. I'm just done. There was a literal straw that broke the camel's back. And he was like, I'm not going to
divorce.
Well, but in the ad, he put on there, I'm done. You know, I'm just, I had the engine redone. I've done this redone. Now the top breaks. I don't want to mess with the car. Take it away.
Yeah.
$5,000. And it's over. And I looked at it, I said, well, there's got to be more than this, because no one sells a Jake Raby built. I mean, the engine costs more than that.
Oh, way more.
It was probably 25, 30 grand to build.
So I'm like, there's something, but to Vu's credit, he...
So where you guys are going is, so what we've started with is, okay, where do you find cars? And one side of that world is the internet. And so what you guys are going, I think, to is, well, once you start going out to the publicly available information, part of what you have to do as a buyer is you've got to sort of read through the writing in the ad to figure out, is this telling me what I need to know? And Robert, in your case, hey, is this the bargain I'm looking for? Or is this a car that's enticing? Or, Damon, hey, you got lucky with your Cayman. Hey, is this worth my trip down to Annapolis? Whatever it is. But I think as a buyer, the PCA folks are saying, okay, well, where do I go? And we're saying, okay, there's a gazillion internet sites, but read through the ad to understand what it's telling you, and then make your decision of whether or not this is something enticing enough to go to the next step. Because all of you guys went to the next step.
Right. For me, it was because it was close.
Yeah. Well, and you didn't just send money, for God's sakes, but you went to the next step.
Yeah.
So does it make sense to go to the next step?
Yeah.
Right.
No,
So
that's
if
fair.
some ads, frankly, just tell you to run.
But believe it or not, The other people don't know where to go.
Right.
I know you say, there are a gazillion internet sites.
Well, you just look up cars for sale or Porsches for sale, and you'll get
And you get
50
the-
sites.
Yeah, but not when you're looking for a Porsche.
Okay.
Trust me, I did this last night. I just typed in Porsches for sale to see what would come up.
Well, lots of dealers come up.
And you get like cars.com. You get
Right. Auto Trader, Hemmings.
right. So and a lot of that, and you
Gurus.
start looking at them, or you'll see them in other places, the same
Right.
cars. But Pelican Parts,
Right.
that's a good place to
Rennlist,
find
PCA.
to find it. So if you're not familiar, Pelican Parts obviously sells parts, but they have an online forum on their website. You just click on forums, and they have it for, I think, BMW and Porsche. Click on Porsche, and you can go to classifieds. They separate it by parts. They separate it by, I think they do model too.
Do they? Because I mean, the last time I looked, it was free form. You had to scroll through a lot of things you weren't interested in to find something that maybe you are.
If it isn't, it isn't a ton of ads, so it's not a lot to go through as far. But it's very few dealer. Rennlist, I seem to see a lot of dealers advertised.
If you go to Excellence or whatever, there's a lot of dealers in there too.
Like we said, Auto Traders, Car Guru, Craigslist. Craigslist used to be the place to go to.
Well, again, if you're looking for a bargain,
But now Craigslist. How often do you go to Craigslist?
I had looked at it in years until you mentioned something about it the other day, and then I'm like, oh, have a look at Craigslist again.
I always look.
It hasn't changed.
I look for parts, and I'm never satisfied. When I'm looking,
I'm stunned you guys haven't mentioned Facebook Marketplace.
Well, it's getting down there. It's getting down.
Okay,
I'm saving
okay.
the best for later.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm
If
not
you had
saying
looked at
that's
the list ahead of
best.
time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Marketplaces like Craigslist was 10 years ago.
The thing that's frustrating about Craigslist, and it always has been, is for whatever reason, they've resisted allowing you to do a national search. I think now, when I looked at it yesterday, one of the new things is you can expand sort of the search radius, kind of like what you can do with Facebook Marketplace, but it's only within.
I think there's a site I remember going to that.
There are a lot of Craigslist aggregator sites.
Yeah, that will
One
do it for you.
Craigs or all Craigs, but they're really clunky. They don't work very well. The real good ones that basically scraped Craigslist, Craigslist would shut down. So I have no idea why, for all these years, they've resisted letting you do a national search on Craigslist. But to me, it's contributed to the downfall.
Yeah, at least in the this area around here, it's 90% used car dealers selling
and not
questionable cars. Yeah, and rarely. We were in LA. I looked at Craigslist, and obviously they had a lot more Porsches than we had. But at least maybe if you're in LA or Chicago or the bigger markets, you get more selection. But
I
it's
guess
pretty dry around here.
The last time I did a Craigslist search, they do let you filter out salvage titles. All the search results went away
Oh
when
my-
I did that. It's
Oh my
like,
God.
great.
Okay.
All right, now we come to the. I think we'll probably hear people who love it or people who, like me, looking at it as the bottom Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
They're good and bad.
Now Rob has found some. You found your 924 on Facebook Marketplace, didn't you?
That was, as Bob was saying earlier, that was one of the 1 in 100 things. Yeah, it was a 78 924 with bad pictures. But one of the good pictures was the interior, and it's a car with a Porsche interior. And that stuff doesn't wear very well. And I'm looking at this, and there's not even so much as a seam split. It's perfect. The seats are phenomenal, even the driver's seat, which made me, as Bob was saying earlier, what are the things that make you take that next step? Well, I figured if the interior is this well preserved, the rest of the car has at least a fighting chance of not being a fright pig. So I did. I took the next step. I talked to the guy. He was a water-cooled VW guy who, for some reason, the 924 just didn't, fit that program, and he inherited the car from someone. And clearly wasn't a scam. I was asking him to send me pictures of very specific areas of the car, and he was returning photos in real time. So I knew the car existed and it was, so I wound up doing what you shouldn't do, which was, I sent him a deposit, it was a $4,500 car. So it was a $250 deposit.
Yeah.
Not the end of the earth if it turns out to be a scam. And it was 2 hours away from me, which was the other reason, as you said earlier, it was close. And a week later, I met the guy at a bank. He drives the car up. His wife, followed him or whatever. And it was everything that I hoped it would be. It's a low mileage, original paint, very nice driving 78 924.
So I'll let me give you a different sense. So Robert just gave you that. I see that as a huge success story. So
Not the norm.
It's not the norm.
No.
And so Manny and you guys know me well enough. So I generally do not look on the internet. But yesterday, for whatever reason, I'm in an airport coming back from a PPI, and I ran into a 356B on Facebook. And so I sent off to the guy, which I always do. I always include my name. Hey, I'm a real person, et cetera, et cetera. Here's how the ad read. 1963, cream puff, gorgeous 356B. It was yellow with black interior. All original. Sold by my client's wife. Price just reduced to $90,000. And so for an all original car, I stopped in my tracks. So what's that car worth if it's truly an all original car?
Well, worth 90 probably.
Well, yeah, probably. And again, the Bs are the less favored, but it was a super. And so an all original B super in that color combination is maybe worth about 120 to 145, depending on the records in the car, et cetera, et cetera. So I sent off to him. Remember, this is an all original car. So, Jim, this is Bob Miller. I'm interested. I'm in an airport, though. I probably can't call you. Can you give me some more information on the car? And I said, all original paint, ? Interior ? Engine, trans, etc. He sends back. This is the exchange. Yes, Bob. Nice to meet you. Yes, all original. So he hasn't answered my question.
Yeah.
I sent back, thanks so much. So you're saying all original paint, ? All original interior, ? Numbers matching engine and trans, ? It comes back, well, everything's pretty original. The engine has been changed, so now it's a non-numbers matching car, but that's about it. So again, the reason I stopped was the words all original, the picture, and the price. And so now I'm wading through confirming, and then you find out really what that writing meant to the seller. And a non-numbers matching car is 30 to 35% less than a matching numbers car. And I will tell you 100% that is not an original paint car. So beware. Meanwhile, here's another example, PCA.org, 914.6. Terrible, terrible pictures. Original owner, low mileage car, must sell due to health reasons. It sat on the mart for a little while. The pictures are awful. I reached out, the guy wanted 115 grand. That's right in the realm for an all original 914.6. It sat there. It went month to month to month. And at month 3, I had already had some contact with him back and forth, and he was difficult to work with. I later found out because he had Parkinson's. So here's the end of the story. I did fly out to Washington State. I met the family, met Jim, who owned the car. He was dying of Parkinson's. It was and is an all-original car, except for the right door that was repainted. I didn't buy it for $115, but there's a car that sat on the mart for month after month. And to Manny's point, so what's wrong with the car? It was terrible pictures. The guy was very difficult to deal with, and it just didn't present well. But that car's in my garage. And so it's what you have to do as a buyer to get to that next level that makes the difference.
Yeah.
So just an FYI.
Sometimes
my
you gotta meet
favorite.
the seller a little bit further up the rate.
Yeah.
My favorite term, original.
Oh, I love original.
Because
Survivor.
Right.
well, anytime I see a 914 and it says all original, my ears perk up and I
Sure.
start reading it because I want to see how they're pricing it next to what I have. And somewhere in that paragraph will come the words resprayed.
Sure.
But before that, it was all original.
Redone interior.
Right.
And original takes on different meanings from people.
Right.
As far as
I think a lot of people, when they think original, they think unmodified. Well, it's the original color, so it's all original, or it's the original seat material, whatever.
Or
Survivor is another word.
original paint, they think means you painted it the same color.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, and you guys know I do a lot of business overseas. And one thing I'll tell our listeners is make sure you define words for the seller. So whenever it says all original, as I did with the 356, I sent out and I said, basically, this is what it means to me to be all original. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And to Manny's point, 99% of the time it comes back, no, your thought of a particular word is not their thought of that word.
Right.
And all original, most of the time, means resprayed, redone interior, redone dash, carpet's been whatever, X, Y, and Z. Oh, this panel was replaced when we resprayed it, but it's the original color, it's numbers matching. And to me, that's not even close to all original.
Right. For a normal person, I tell you, one of the best things I've ever bought on the urging of Nathan Murs, who showed me how to use one, is a paint meter. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're fun to use. They're easy. They're not terribly expensive.
Right.
And
I'm just thinking of like a paint meter commercial. Have fun with your paint meter.
no, but I mean, it's
But it's the skin.
yeah, no, but I mean, it's a good thing to own. Plus, when you take one and you're with the seller of a car, they kind of know that maybe I shouldn't.
To be like Bob.
By the way,
Bob brings it to
say that's
exactly.
Bob brings it to Cars and Coffee, and when anybody hears somebody say it's original paint, he takes that as paint meter.
Well, and let's talk just 1 second on that. I know people in the world that can replicate from 3 to 5 mil of paint. And they replicate the orange peel and they replicate the thickness. So a paint meter is a great tool. It is not the end all be all.
For your world, I would agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for commodity cars, Rembrandt is not going to be.
Oh, I agree. $20,000 Boxster, you're not buying, you're not paying that.
Anything, let's say late model, 2000 later, it's a great tool to find out if the car's been in an accident.
Right.
So for finishing up on Facebook Marketplace, what I tell people to do is you can click on the seller profile, and you can see comments people have made about the seller. And that's one of the first things I do when I see a $4,000 Cayenne. Not that I would touch that ever, but I'll just click on it, and I swear I've never seen so many single-star ratings. And you'll see all the comments about previous cars this guy sold. Yeah. And normally, if it's not a dealer, not a flipper, it may have no ratings because it's their personal car they're selling for the first time. Mm-hmm. But the guy who's flipping them in his backyard, you may want to tread lightly.
And be careful online. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. I've had some not quite scary, but almost is a seller on Craigslist, which is why I don't use it anymore. And Facebook kind of gives me those same vibes. So be careful.
How do you feel about, related to Facebook Marketplace, but there are groups like 986 Boxster for sale, 996 for sale, and there are groups and people post
that are usually started by flippers.
Yeah,
seriously.
Is that I don't know. But
everything.
It's the only place I troll on a regular basis are those groups.
Facebook to me is like the gutter. I hate to say it. I know we have a Facebook page, but it is the gutter when it comes to car things for sale and what people post, and because it can be very anonymous. it's probably the least place I would look at. I don't think I'd ever buy a car off Facebook Marketplace unless I knew the person who put it up for sale.
I tend to agree with most of that.
Like the 924, I would have passed by that. And it was a great deal, but I probably would have passed by because I look at it with such cynical eyes that this is
and it's well earned. I mean, it is the only. I'm not an internet troll. I'm the the opposite of that. But stuff like that where the flippers, as you mentioned. I was looking at an ad for, it was a speed yellow 996 coupe with a aftermarket aero kit, like aftermarket Sparco, sports seats and everything else, and like unremarkable miles, like 75,000 miles. And the guy's asking $59,900 for the car. And I just couldn't control myself. I mean, I laughed like the snarkiest, trolliest, S-word post I've ever done in my life. But yeah, I think you're right. I think,
and to Damon's point, yes. Remember, you're dealing the entire public, so
yeah,
police stations are a good place to exchange information or.
I had somebody, and it wasn't a car I was selling. When my mom died years ago, I was selling some of her stuff. I was talking to a woman. And then right before they were supposed to come out, like, she put a man on the line. I'm like, wait, I've been talking not to you this whole time. And he's like, well, I'm not an axe murderer or anything. And that's when I'm like,
there's every axe murderer.
Yeah. So and I'm just like, I'm not dealing with Craigslist anymore. I didn't sell that piece. I just threw it away, whatever it was.
No, I didn't read your preface, Manny, but this is online, but not exactly. What's your guys' sense of bring a trailer?
That's coming.
Oh, it is.
So before we move on,
sorry,
on the list,
Damn.
Facebook groups, not marketplace. Facebook groups are a great place to find really good cars. They might not be a group where cars are posted for sale regularly, but there's a local autocross group where, and this isn't a Porsche I'm thinking about right now, but if I were in the market for an autocross Miata, for example, I would have bought that car that somebody listed because it's, national champion owned, blah, blah, blah.
So you see it as pre-qualified.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely, Facebook groups where, people let you in and they're moderated. Those can be good areas that are taking the place maybe of like a Dorkiphus.net sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But also,
so Manny sees them as flippers. You see them as kind of pre-vetted and not a bad.
Well, so the groups
are not the marketplace.
No, but they're not much better either because when you got to answer questions and whatnot, a lot of it's automatic. Meaning it's not a person who's actually saying yes, he can be allowed in the group. You can change your group to that where you have to be the person, but a lot of times people start saying, I sent this request in 10 minutes ago and I still haven't heard back. So you can have Facebook automatically do it for you, and I guess it's AI that's checking it. So this is why you see my favorite is my daughter is an artist and she did this shirt up, but she hasn't had anybody like it. Can you like the shirt and buy it from her? And people are like, oh, it's great and everything. It's all spammers.
But there is spammers. But what I'm talking about though is you're in these groups. You're probably talking with them on different posts. It's a discussion group, right? For when I'm thinking of the local autocross circuit. So when somebody posts that Miata for sale where they're tuning the oversteer by bump stop length, spiral cut bump stops.
Oh, good God.
Because it's a stock class. And the guy's a national champion and the fastest guy in the whole area vouches for him. Like, that's probably a good car. So groups like that can be good. And in the same token, we haven't even mentioned region websites can have excellent classifieds in your local area.
Yeah, that is a great point.
Excellent classifieds.
You have to do some searching. And that also goes to the point of joining PCA.
PCA regions I'm talking about.
But when you join PCA, I can't tell you how many people call the office and I'll ask them, are you a PCA member? No. And I'm like, well, it's going to be kind of hard for a PCA region person to want to help you out if you're not the member. You didn't pay the money to join the club dealer's test drive and have them go out and take a look at a car for you. So at least that says you're not a scammer, that you actually spent the $56 to join the club. That's it. So it's worthwhile because as soon as you join, you're put in a region in your area, and like Damon said, a A lot of them have their own classifieds, local classifieds. Or if not, you can go around and check the regions, the websites for
Some
their
are locked down,
classifieds.
so it just depends on the region as well.
Yeah. No,
sorry.
Before we move off Facebook, though, one last thing: the distinction between marketplace ads and group ads. Group ads have comments. Like bring a trailer, and a lot of them are low information trolls posting. But sometimes you get somebody who weighs in who's
It's
a real
a local sort of group,
Yeah.
but like I think there's like Maryland MQB is the MQB chassis, Audi A3, Golf, GTI, et cetera, et cetera. That's a really good group because I know, and you can tell on their posts that they do a pretty good job of not allowing spammers in. But the Mark 7 GTI group, which is I think worldwide.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg does not take any of his billion towards improving his little creation, Facebook, and that's why I think it's just the bottom.
All right, we've done
all right
today.
So Hagerty Marketplace. Anybody ever use that? That's like a auction site.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I don't.
Looked at it.
Yeah.
One I do go to a lot is the Porsche inventory site.
Oh, you mean a dealer inventory?
Yes.
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
Rate CPO for non-CPO
Right.
cars, even new cars if you want. But I tell people I'm a big fan of CPO cars, and I always tell people if you want peace of mind for 2 and you can extend it to a 3rd year, go to just Google Porsche CPO, and that's going to take you to their main site, and you can search, I think 20 miles or
Nationwide. Yep.
for your car, and you can set price range, all the trim, anything you want. You can find out if your dream car exists in the network of dealers. And while a CPO car doesn't mean that it's perfect, but it does go through a very extensive vetting process from the dealer, because the dealer is responsible for the car. The dealer just can't say we're going to CPO this, and that's the end of it. He has to be responsible. If they just CPO without checking it and they find out the whole car has been repainted,
Right.
they are in big trouble.
Yeah, there's huge criteria for CPO, and people don't realize CPO costs the dealer. There's a certain percentage of the car that can have repaint.
25% to something like that.
They scan the ECU.
Yep.
They generally will not accept a CPO car with anything over range 2.
No modifications.
Right. If you have a couple of pings into range 3, a lot of times they will. But it's a pretty darn good value for the buyer.
That's a DME report.
Yes, I'm sorry, a DME report. Yes.
So, and also to specify, when you say pings a range 1, 2, or 3, that's over revving the engine.
Right. And
Different levels.
yeah, and again,
Up to 7.
well, it depends on the car. There's range 1 through 6 for certain cars, 1 through 3 for other cars. But the CPO itself has criteria, and it's just an amazing value. And I'm not pushing it because I'm not a Porsche dealer, but it's a good value for the buyer.
We're not either, but I tell people from what I see and the fact that it's won many awards, it's probably one of the best certified pre-owned programs out there, and certainly gives you a great peace of mind. In fact, I tell people, anyone who buys a late model Porsche, take the VIN number and check with Porsche, or just go to the dealer and say, is this VIN showing as still have a warranty on it? A friend of mine bought a Panamera from a Toyota dealer, used Panamera, and I said, give me the VIN number, and I ran it through one of the dealer friends, and it turned out he had 6 months left
Oh my
on
gosh.
his CPO. I had no idea. The dealer, of course, had no idea because it's a Toyota dealer.
Sure.
That's like Christmas in June.
No, it is.
So I told him, I said, for 6 months, anything at all that goes wrong with this car, take it back and have them fix it, because odds are they're going to be able to cover most anything that happens to this car.
I'm glad we're talking about the dealerships, because whether it's a CPO or not, dealerships, and whether they're Porsche dealerships or not, are a really good place to look. I never used to think that, but then I met somebody in the club, a friend of mine, who has a really nice collection of 987s and 997s, and he bought all of them at dealers for really, really good prices. And some of them, I think, like it was like a Toyota dealer had a 997.2 6-speed manual coupe, and you got it for a steal because the Toyota dealership, for example, didn't really know
There's a premium for the manual.
or
Yeah.
that there was premium or anything
Yeah.
like that. So don't discount dealers like I did, 10, 15 years ago, thinking Craigslist and private sale was the only way to go.
Right. Well, I mean, let's face it. Half the dealers today don't know the difference between a manual and a PDK. I mean, you'll
or a really a Tiptronic and a PDK.
yeah.
A lot of
Huge
people
difference.
no idea that
Right.
that the difference in the transmissions.
And that is one of the most frustrating things about looking through ads on cars.com and car gurus, that if you select for manual, in many cases, 70 or 75% of your returns are actually going to be PDK for whatever reason. Either the dealer doesn't know the difference or is intentionally, it's on purpose. Yeah.
I think going back to Facebook, I think something with their ads. Like, so many times I'll see it says auto, and then when you start reading the description, it says it won't let me choose manual, but this is a manual, not an auto.
Right.
But it says auto, and the first thing I always do is go look at the interior pictures to see, is it really an automatic or because some of the cars Porsche didn't even make an automatic, but I guess the software that Facebook uses kind of limits you of what you can tell them.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
So anyways, the inventory site is another one you can get stuck on and look at for a long time. And they're not like CarMax. They won't ship. If you see a dealer in Houston, he's not going to ship it up to the dealer in Maryland. You're going to have to buy it and have it transported. And I'd still have someone go take a look at it because, once again, just because of CPO doesn't mean the car's flawless and you can buy it without having ever looked at it.
Well, and we'll get there, and you guys know this, but philosophically, you realize all of us have been talking about pre-purchase. And so what we're doing is all pre-purchase. Like Robert looks for certain things, Damon, you do, Manny, in the writing, in the market that you look at, in the site, whatever it is that you're using, you're defining things pre-purchase.
CarMax. Anybody ever use that?
Never.
Look for a car?
I did for my folks, and they actually bought a car through
They have a pretty good search, and from different people I've heard who've used it, their warranty, their aftermarket warranty is very very good.
Gotten worse over the years, but it's still very good.
And those guys will ship, won't they, Mooney?
Yes, they.
Yeah.
In fact, it says on the website, once
the
you
shipping
tell them
cost
what your zip code is, it'll tell you how much it'll cost to ship up there. And I will, not that I'm in any way affiliated with CarMax, but never bought anything from them. But I did sell. We sold, I think, 2 cars to them. And the one car we brought had $25,000 worth of body damage to it. It was completely fixed. Car looked brand new. Should have been total, but it was an SUV. They looked at it for 1 minute and said, "Yeah, we can't even give you an offer for this car. It's been in a bad accident."
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Drove it literally across the street to the Chevy dealer, and they were like, "This car's in awesome shape. Come inside. We're going to give you a great deal. This is great for this car for 3 years old." Because of course they just had paint that was less than 3 weeks old on it. But yes, CarMax, they took it into the garage, and it's like 2 minutes later they came back out. They said, "Yeah, we can't."
They ran the VIN.
Maybe actually, I don't think it was showing yet on the VIN.
Oh,
I think
okay.
they look underneath and they must have seen paint, probably overspray or something. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, don't discount CarMax.
The only knock that I have on them, and as I said, I dealt with them on a car for my parents, is everything is no haggle, and it seems like everything is priced at the absolute top of NADA retail. I mean, they're I think that CarMax and Carvana tend to be consistently priced very high. That's the only knock I can see.
I did not put Carvana in here.
I did buy a car through Carvana.
And
So I bought, you guys will know what this is. You're going to die. I bought a 2005 911 Turbo S through Carvana. They only made 600 in the world. 100 and I think 100 and 80 came into the United States.
Last of the 996s. Right?
Yeah. This is a cobalt metallic blue car. They made 14 of those cars.
You got that from Carvana.
From Carvana. I literally
Did they deliver the little truck and everything?
Yeah. And I literally just happened to be on the internet on something, pushed something. It went to this site. I instantly knew what that car was. And they had it priced as a 911 Turbo. And so I took a gamble. I literally took a gamble because Robert, I took yours. I was like, this is unbelievable.
Because the VIN check would just say it was an S.
Sure, but they didn't know exactly what that was. And so I called the head guy down there, talked him through the car, asked a whole bunch of questions, had them fix a couple things.
Because you want to make sure that some guy didn't put an S next to the
Exactly.
Turbo.
Yeah.
How long ago was this?
I'd have to look at my records, but I think it was 2000 and maybe 15.
That seems strange that they'd even be selling a 10-year-old
But
car.
it was a brand new sort of area of Carvana, and the guy, he said, listen, what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring in people like you at the higher end. And they, I mean, this is stunning, but they had the car listed for $59,900.
Oh. Wow.
And it was a previous CPO car. And so they had some of those records that they sent to me. And I broke all my rules, Robert. I bought the car sight unseen. And I still have that car.
Wow. Oh, yeah. And you bring the car to
Yeah.
coffee sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a coupe?
yeah, oh yeah, the Turbo S
They did-
cabs they made a lot of. The coupes they made 600 worldwide.
Did they make Turbo S cabs?
Oh yeah, there's a ton of those.
Yeah.
Ton of them.
Yeah.
But the coupes are super rare. And then cobalt metallic blue. Unbelievably rare.
Yeah, just please tell me it doesn't have a natural brown leather interior.
It doesn't. It's one of my small
gray?
issues. It's gray.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you want the car.
With brown interior, yeah. With the
Great.
Space gray. No,
Right. But
yeah.
it's a soft dove gray.
I love that gray so much.
Oh, it's not my favorite, but the car is stunning.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I got lucky. I'm not saying this happens a lot. That's the 1 in 100.
All right. The one that I know Rob spends a lot of time on. Bring a trailer.
I have not looked at Bring a Trailer in ages.
Are we going to look for your browser history?
My browsing history. I was looking at it yesterday, writing the article for the Mart Fresh News on whether
Sounds
the
like what I said. It's Catholic
market
school. It was for research purposes.
is taking a breather. So yeah, I was looking at SCs on Bring a Trailer, but otherwise, I tend not to because I don't. I it's difficult for me to imagine buying anything on Bring a Trailer. I mean, I bid on a few cars over the years and I've been outbid. I've sold like 5 or 6 cars on it. But whatever they do, they've managed to figure out the equivalent of the bidder's bar at a live auction on an online auction. I just, there's some cars that just inexplicably go absolutely nuts in the last 5 minutes.
Is it safe to say you're probably not going to find a bargain on Bring a Trailer?
No, I don't think that's safe to say. I think, because I was the article that I did on G.
That's not true, by the way.
There were some bargains. I mean, I think you tend to find bargains. The analog for a no picture 3-word ad on the Mart on Bring a Trailer is a seller that doesn't participate, a seller who doesn't answer questions, who isn't involved in the auction. I don't think anything chills bidding faster than that. Yeah. And, for one of the SCs that I profiled in this article, I think you were just dealing with somebody who wasn't a car person, who wasn't, part of the normal Bring a Trailer ecosystem, and just didn't realize you need to be checking this, every 30 minutes or so and answering questions. And, as soon as you let, questions go for 2, 3, or 4 hours, you just get savaged by the comments. So I think some of those cars, can actually be decent cars and wind up being bargains. But if the seller isn't participating, that can really chill bidding.
How much time do you want to spend on Bring a Trailer, Manny?
I usually tell people to go there.
No.
So I mean,
In this,
this is not a whole lot because I tell people go there. You bring a trailer as a resource to see what things are selling for really. And this is more to people who are looking to sell their car. And if you really want to see what a car like yours is selling for, because I get a lot of calls from people who, a relative, a parent have died, and now they've inherited this car. They're not Porsche people. Some want to keep the car, or some want to sell it. Either way, I said, if you want to establish what the cars are worth, get it properly insured, go to Bring a Trailer, look under their completed listings, and you'll probably be able to find a car similar to yours or several of them, and you can get a good idea. Or go to Hagerty and use their valuation. That's a good point. I think I bid one time on a car, thinking I might be able to get it pretty inexpensive, but then it went beyond my threshold of what I thought it was worth. And along the same lines, we have PCarMarket and CarsandBids, other online.
And Hagerty's marketplaces now.
Yeah, that's and Hemmings. Hemmings has a lot of
everybody's jumping in
auction places. I'm not a I go to the PCA Mart maybe 2 or 3 times a day. I go to Bring a Trailer maybe once a week.
Okay.
PCarMarket once every 2-3 weeks maybe. And that's usually when someone sends me something for sale. You say you don't look on the internet, so you're not looking.
Well, and I have to back up from that statement because obviously I do. But to try to stay impartial on this podcast, I'll just give information. So Bring a Trailer is a forum. It is not an auction house. What an auction house does is they sell a car, and then they make sure that the money is collected and the money is transferred. Bring a Trailer advertises a car. They're not an auction site. Once the
auction site in the sense that people are bidding.
Yes, people bid,
so
but
not a for sale. It is an auction, but it's different than
They never touch the title,
or the money.
Yeah.
And so once the auction is finished, they take their commission, they walk away. Good luck. What you don't know, and I won't say the exact amount, there's a lot of those auctions that are sold that never actually get paid for. And so you see some of those cars, back up on Bring a Trailer, available again. Hey, you get another chance, whatever. In terms of bargains, there are some bargains. There was a 72 911S in Viper Green that went through last year. It sold for $218 plus the commission,
which is 10%.
I don't know what it was back then, but
Bring a Trailer.
Yeah, so Bring
I thought listening to that.
Bring a Trailer. It used to be $5,000 capped, and then it went to $7,000, and then it went to a percentage. But anyway, so this was a very, very, very good car, but in the end, it needed about $45,000 to $50,000 worth of work. But it was a great bones car. And that car has just resold for $280,000. And so there are bargains, quote unquote, but you really need to know what you're doing. And so just the caveat emptor, this is what Bring a Trailer is, and this is how they work. The other part of this is, and I'll leave him unnamed, one of my friends is very, very, very knowledgeable in certain cars. He chimed in just with facts and was immediately removed from the discussions, and then chimed in again with more facts, was immediately removed, and now is banned from Bring a Trailer for life because he was adding facts that they did not like to the auction. Just facts.
That's surprising.
I'm telling you just information. I'm trying to stay impartial. Yeah. And again, it's the elephant in the room. It's a massive site. They eclipse basically all other auction houses at this point worldwide.
Oh, so the fee for buyers is 5%, minimum $250, maximum $5,000.
I thought that has gone up though.
I was saying right now.
Okay.
Either way, it's much less than a live auction.
Yo, ton is
And-
less.
And anyone who watches Chasing Classic Cars has seen Wayne Carini explain to the audience how there's no one bidding in the room. Even if the auctioneer is saying, we have 50,000 here, 60, because you're bringing it up right below the reserve.
Right.
And then seeing if there's any buyers. And Wayne, I love watching the show because you can tell Wayne Carini is defeated at that point because he realizes his car's not selling today.
Right.
Even though the guy next to him is all excited because the bidding's going up,
Right.
he's like, there's no one in the room buying it.
Yeah, and there's nobody on the phone either.
Oh, and that's a real auction house.
Yeah.
But that's also, it's auctioning. So it's definitely, something that you as a buyer have to be careful with.
Yeah.
Just because it is the largest auction house or just because it's a famous auction house that sells art too, doesn't mean that
It's real.
you may not get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, but I mean, moderation of comments, that haven't been flagged or that aren't, that's disturbing because for me, that has been one of the better aspects of Bring a Trailer.
Me too.
Most of the comments are ill-informed, people just repeating things.
Sure.
What's a Lotus? Lotus stands for lots of trouble, usually serious.
Right.
Garbage like that. But
I never
it
heard that.
seems like
Pretty funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
With every auction, though, there are at least one or two people who are absolute subject matter experts that I learned something from that I haven't, that I didn't know. And I think, one of the missed opportunities to Bring a Trailer is they should just, they should collect those comments, that expertise, because it's really, pretty useful.
Even one of my, well, that's not true. Several of my comments, and I'm not a huge BAT person, but I commented on a couple things on a 4-liter that sold, and it came back immediately. Your comment is being reviewed. It's never done that before, ever.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I mean, I see them get flagged,
Right.
and
I think
usually
what to keep in mind, and we're focusing a lot on Bring a Trailer right now, but any of these online auctions that have comment systems, that is moderated by the business. The business wants those cars to sell for as much as possible. So you've got to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Just a buy it.
Comments, it might not be all the comments because, it's not surprising that some, whether they're bad or not, but some comments are going to be removed.
Well, and buyer beware. This is sort of what we're talking about. It's pre-purchase. So what you have to know as a buyer.
Which brings us to the last part of our discussion is PPI. So Bob obviously is co-owner of a shop, and we always say whenever we write Mart Fresh is have it checked out by somebody who knows these models. But we really don't go into cost or when is it worth getting a PPI. Damon alluded to when he had his Cayman, he had it checked over by the dealership. 5 minutes. Tell us what PPI's range when people.
Well, and so, okay, PPI, pre-purchase inspection. So what does that mean and what does it cost? Mostly it means you're literally putting your hands and fingers and feet, whatever, into and onto that car. So you can get a guy that goes out for $100, looks the car over, starts it, it runs. Hey, I drove it. It's a good car.
And that might be for if you're looking for, let's say your
924.
8,000-mile Honda Insight, $100 pre-purchase.
Sure.
Probably.
Sure, absolutely. And then it can go all the way up to, I wouldn't say my world, but my world, where you're dealing with one of 1,580. It takes $100,000 to take a 911T and create a 911 RS 2.7. That's it. Not much more. And now what you have to do is you must now PPI the chassis, verify stampings, welds, engine, transmission, glass, interior, et cetera, et cetera.
What about the guy who's looking at a Cayman?
No, I got you.
And at a dealer.
Right.
Have you ever been asked to go to a dealer and inspect the car?
Sure, absolutely. But what you do as a buyer is you do the cost benefit. And so I'm buying a $10,000 car. Does it make any sense to have Bob go out and go through it for a full day at $3,000? No, of course not. Doesn't make any sense at all. Does it make sense for me to have a dealer look it over for $199? Absolutely. For a $10,000 car, sure, have at it. But there's a massive range of what a PPI is. And then the knowledge base of the individual that you're sending to do the evaluation, and then what you need to have come out of it as a buyer. So I'll give you an exact example. I just got back from evaluating from an unknown shop a 996 GT3 RS. There were 682 of these built. It's a white with blue, which there are 17% of those out of the 682 that are white with blue. And it's going to sell for damn close to 400,000. So does it make sense to send someone in and do a PPI? I would think so. And so what did I find? It looks like a real GT3 RS, which, by the way, there's not much difference. But I take the car apart as much as I can. I've got every under tray off. I'm inside the boot. I'm back in the engine bay. I'm looking at everything, paint metering the car, you name it. So what does that cost? It costs my travel, and I did it in a day. And so that's going to cost him about $2,000 of my time and travel. Is that worth it on a $400,000 car? To say,
Unquestionably.
yes, of course.
There isn't that kind of, it's a car that was never sold in North America.
Right,
So
right.
how many experts are you going to find?
Well, and listen, I'm not saying I'm the expert on the planet, but
Right.
I know a lot about these cars. So
But what about the guy who's not going for the GT3 RS?
Right.
Thinking the person who's looking at the Cayenne, the Macan, and this is what we get a lot of calls into the national office, is people who aren't looking to see that the car has matching numbers.
dealers are great.
But they hear
Small
more
shops are great.
So I would imagine what the reason PPIs can range in price is like how long does it take to do a bore scoring? Sure.
It depends on the car. Do you have to remove the exhaust or not? You know, because with the air-cooled cars, which of course there's no bore scoring, but you can get in there much easier on the top side of the car. With the water-cooled cars, a lot of times you're pulling exhaust. It can take 6 hours.
So you could look at over $1,000.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Changes,
And then while you're there, I hate to say it, it's the if-then syndrome. You might as well do either a leak down and or a compression check because you've already done most of the work. So, you know, with the M96 and early M97 engines, does that make sense? Yes. Does it make sense with maybe a 73 911S? Probably not bore scoring, but what about compression? What about leak down? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. So as a buyer, you have to, what you're doing is a cost benefit analysis. And how much do you trust the seller? How much information are you getting?
Yeah.
And something that might help too, just on the Cayman sort of thing, and knowing what I know now about those engines. But like, for example, I know that a 2.7 liter Cayman is probably not going to score its bores. So if I knew that going in and I'm looking at 2.7 liter Caymans, I would probably tell the dealership, you know, no need to check the bores.
Okay.
You know, personally, I probably would do that.
But probably the dealer wouldn't do it unless you ask, and there's a good chance the dealer may not want to do it.
I can tell you your $199 PPI did not include that.
No.
That's a quick look over, put it up on the rack, and yes, check.
I didn't know that when I bought the car, the 2.7 liters were the stronger engines. But now that I know, but if I were in the market for a 3.4 liter Cayman S or Boxer S, not a 3.2, but a 3.4, I would ask them to, yes, please do bore scoring because that's a $35,000 car. It's worth.
I can't, but understanding that, because every forum I read at, they act like doing a bore score check is like checking the oil in a dipstick.
It's not.
And it's like this is a lot of money you're going to be spending. So when you casually tell someone, "Oh, get a check for bore scoring,"
There are two ways to check.
Well, no, on the internet you can bore score with a Q-tip and a piece of duct tape, and it takes an hour. That's not true. So
You can I think check bore scoring. I've never done it, so I don't know exactly how, but you can do it through the spark plugs. Which is top, I believe.
It doesn't matter. All you want is to get into that combustion chamber.
Yeah, but like one of the things, for example, with bore scoring is if you check the top, you might not see the scoring that's been happening on the bottom, which is where it starts.
Well, and again,
Knowledge, really.
if you're doing it right, you're rotating that engine as far as it will go in terms of, the rod and the distance. To see back on the underside, I mean, that's super, super difficult. And certain engines don't allow it.
Yeah. So there's a lot to know, I guess, going into some of these.
Well, and then also, I mean, the real big issue is how conservative are you? And do you want this car checked within a percentage of its life? I don't know. And what does that cost to do? In your case, the 2.7, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to take the risk. Someone else may say, I don't want the risk. What does it cost to get rid of that risk? And that's what I always tell customers is like, look, it's not me. It's how much risk do you want to take? And the nightmare story is the 2.7 RS that I evaluated, that I told the owner, who was very well known, and I'll leave his name out, that this is a fake car. He was advertising the car for $800,000 and it was fake. So do you want to be the last person standing while the music stops? I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, maybe some people.
Well, here's the gray area with PPIs, and in my experience, and it goes back to what Manny was talking about earlier with CPO cars. Do you have one of those cars PPI'd? Most of the time when you're going to a dealer or an indie shop, they're experts on the mechanical condition of the car, not the cosmetic condition. I bought an E36 M3 in California, and I had a PPI that did really well. But I got the car, and there's a huge mismatch between the rear bumper cover and the rear deck and the rear fenders. They're not experts on cosmetics. So what do you do there? I mean, it wasn't a huge deal. I had the bumper cover resprayed and everything was fine. But
what did you pay for it? The PPI?
$250.
Okay. Could you have gotten a higher level PPI for $500 and then that would have gotten rid of that?
Not in the same shop.
Okay.
Because I think you don't have, in most shops, you don't have mechanical expertise and cosmetic expertise. I would have had to have taken it to one shop for mechanical PPI and another, like a body shop. And body shops are generally not in the business of doing PPIs. So, I mean, what do you do there? I mean, with a CPO car, I'm less concerned about the mechanicals of the car. I would sort of take it on faith that if it's, CPO'd, that those are fine. But, is it up to, your standards or mine in terms of cosmetics? I don't know who's going to tell you that.
Right. The funny thing is, and again, I run a shop and I do. So the mechanicals don't scare me as much as the aesthetics. Right. Because I can fix everything on the mechanical side. Mm-hmm. And so if I see a really good bones car that needs $5,000 worth of mechanical stuff, I don't even blink.
Right.
Because the aesthetic side of that car, and normally mine are always older, is irreplaceable. Mm-hmm. The mechanical side is easy to fix.
Yeah. That, to me, that's the gray area of a PPI.
We could probably talk another hour. Yeah. Be done maybe another episode. So we got to start up here. Be sure to head over to PCA.org to sign up for PCA's newsletters, performance news, e-brake news, and Mart Fresh. Is there 3 of them or is there 4 of them?
Mart Fresh, e-brake, performance, I believe.
All right. So yeah, that's all of them. In the news, just one piece that I thought was interesting. The Iron Dames have
reached Porsche.
Reached a partnership with Porsche. That's pretty big. Iron Dames, if you aren't familiar with, is an all-female driver team, and they're going to be campaigning around the world, and from WEC to the Malaysian series, and they're going to be in Daytona for the 24. So it's going to be fun to watch. This is something that Porsche is big on, is pushing, let's say, girl power. And I know I was rooting for them last year at Sebring, and pretty much anywhere they go, because it's pretty cool. I mean, they're phenomenal drivers, and they're becoming part of the junior program with Porsche Motorsports. So I hope to live long enough to see a female driver in Formula One. That's what I want to see. That would
Yeah, my girls are 12 and 8, so that'll be fine.
They're behind the gun now. You've got it. 4 years old is when you start training them for Formula One. Coming up, PCA events. We have a Works Reunion at Amelia Island, March 7th.
When does that open, Manny, for
That is just right now.
Oh, crap.
And you didn't register.
I didn't.
You're going to be
box, right?
You're going to be banished to the corral.
Jeez, who is?
Before then is the if you're going to the 24 hours of Daytona, I didn't list this, but if you're going to the 24 hours of Daytona in January, PCA has its own corral, which I believe it's still the only, or at least the largest club corral in the infield. I always say we have beachfront property because we are right against the little not chicane but like bend between the two horseshoes. Yeah, it might be. Anyways, phenomenal spot. It's not our grandstand, but we call it our grandstand because it's right within the property. About 200 Porsches parking there. I think the parking sells out sometime in the summertime, and they offer it to people who parked there before. So it's kind of like football tickets. If you got to wait for someone to pass away or to get tired of it to get on the list and move up. But if you're a member and you just want to swing by, just show them, or a Porsche owner, show them either your car key or your PCA membership card. You can get inside the tent where they usually have snacks, drinks, closed circuit television, big screen. And if it's like a day today, like today in Baltimore, it's warm inside. Treffin Homestead, registration opens February 5th. That's April 30th for May 4th at Hot Spring, Virginia. That one will sell out very quickly. Porsche Parade in Oklahoma, July 6th through 12th of next year. And, of course, Treffin at Sea, which also is our 70th anniversary next year for PCA. That's August 30th through September 6th. If you love racing but don't love spending money or hitting walls, PCA Sim Racing. That's the thing you should try out.
I know you
can hit a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not sore and your wallet's not sore.
The rebuild doesn't that much.
And you got a whole list of cool cars you get to drive that you would never drive in real life. Go to PCASimRacing.com to find more information. They do series year round. If you're looking for PCA Insider merchandise, you can go to the PCAWebstore.org. We have the bottle, mug, shirts. If you're just looking for a sticker, just email podcasts@pca.org, and please put your name and address. It'll save time from us going back and forth with emails. If you aren't a current PCA member and own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Be sure to have your VIN handy. And for those of you who don't currently own a Porsche, check out our test drive program. Just go to www.pca.org. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page to see behind-the-scenes photos and videos. Porsche Club Insider, all in one word. You can message us or email us at podcast@pca.org or simply comment on our YouTube podcast video. If you want to stay in touch with all things PCA, remember to subscribe to our free PCA newsletters at pca.org/newsletters. Anything else?
No.
All right.
Good talk.
Always
Next
great
episode,
fun.
we should have Vu back from Germany, and maybe he'll tell us some secrets that he's not supposed to tell. All right, gentlemen, thanks for being on, and until next time, stay safe, and we'll see you all on the road.